Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be doing a full review of this book, None of This is Serious by Catherine Prasifka, because even though I talked about this in my June wrap up, I just don't feel as though I have closure from this book, and I feel like I need to get some. First of all, I'm going to go through my review across various different elements and I'll put what those are here. I'm new to these types of reviews, so do let me know if there's something I'm missing. And lastly, I'm also going to include a short snippet of the book performed out loud from the beginning. This is to give you a sense of what the book is like. You don't have to listen to just my opinion because I am just one person. You can go straight to the source and see if this sounds like the type of book that you might be interested in reading. The basic premise of this book is it's a sort of coming out of university, that sort of age, like 22, 23, not really knowing where you're going to go next. That's sort of how it sort of starts off, this idea of, you know, what are the next steps and the sort of uncertainty that life can throw us. And then right away in the first chapter, what everyone thinks is a shooting star goes across the sky. A big, what looks to be a crack that's purple, opens up in the sky and it goes like as far as the eye can see, top to bottom, all the way across. And as you can imagine, everyone starts freaking out. It then sort of becomes the world's like reaction to this, but sort of the social media side of things. And to me, it definitely immediately just reminded me of COVID. And I think because we've had that experience as a shared community of humans in the last couple of years, I feel like this is a book that could now be written because we know what it feels like to be in that situation and to see social media taking off about different sort of things and people taking sides, to giving their opinions and just not really knowing necessarily what to think ourselves or what to do or what is going to happen. And there's that big sense of uncertainty, and a lot of people I know at that time would have been flocking to social media as a way to seek comfort. I know that it's the time that I used Twitter only really in my life was over the pandemic, basically to keep an eye on the numbers, which was a huge problem in Ireland, was the number of cases, especially hospital cases. And you naturally end up looking at the comments and seeing this discourse that you probably shouldn't or don't really want to see. We definitely get a lot of that in this book. So the main character who is narrating and is the first person narrator of the book is called Sophie. So we see her experience of, first of all, that sense of this point in life, like not really knowing where life is going, and then also this happening and the sort of reactions and sort of navigating life at that sort of difficult moment of being a young person. The book, I believe, is set in Ireland, but I have no real recollection of there being anything that specifically says where it's set. I didn't feel like there was anything overtly Irish about it. I feel like it could have easily translated to lots of other places, but I think there was some elements that made it Irish, which were, I think, having that fear around housing. So who are the characters in this book? We have Sophie, the first person narrator, who is... I really didn't like her. I don't like first person narrations in general, I would say, and so naturally one big thing I didn't like with this book was the fact that it was a first person narrator. And so Sophie basically has a lot of problems, I guess, when it comes to not knowing what she wants to do or like getting kind of purpose for her life. And she often has a weird relationship with food and with the other people in her life. And she definitely seeks refuge in social media throughout a lot of the book. And I think the main issue with the character of Sophie is I just really didn't kind of relate to her character. It's not really how I deal with situations necessarily. I think even though I was spending maybe more time on social media over the pandemic, I wouldn't have been spending an unknown amount of hours staying up late into the night, falling asleep to it, kind of thing. And I just feel her way of dealing with things was something I just didn't really understand. Like, she just didn't really have any initiative or a drive to really change things, and I just found her a bit annoying, I'm gonna be honest. Her best friend, Grace, is another of the main characters, and I think she's just this sort of typical, like, oh, there's the friend who's maybe not as glamorous, so Sophie's that friend, the like less glamorous one, and they always have this really glamorous, taller, slimmer, more attractive, better dressed friend who makes them feel bad just by existing. I just didn't really like that vibe. I just feel like it's a little bit done. Anyways, so there's her character as well. We don't really learn a lot about like her general arc. There's then this guy called Finn, who Sophie and him have this weird sort of relationship where they're like flirty friends, I would say, weirdly ingrained together, and you're just sort of wondering, like, have they maybe gotten together before? Are they going to get together? I don't really feel like they should get together, but it just sort of seems like it's going to happen. And he's just like a typical boy. He's just a dope. Like, he's so annoying. And then we have this guy that Sophie starts up this online relationship with initially and then meets later in the book. But it starts off commenting on each other's things, and that sort of relationship starting on social media, that does happen a lot nowadays. I did find it interesting, like the idea of that which is a very pervasive way of communicating and making friends online and stuff nowadays, that was part of it. And then we also had Sophie's family, who weren't great, I think. Especially, you know, again, we have the sister who's like her twin sister and is just much better than her, and it just, I think a lot of the problems in this for me was like everyone was set out to make it be like, oh, poor Sophie, and I just didn't really feel much sympathy for her. There is a sort of incident that happens that obviously I do feel for her in, however, and I won't give that away, throughout the rest of the book I just didn't really feel very connected to her. I didn't really feel like, oh, poor Sophie, she has all these people in her life that make her feel bad. Do you know what I mean? Let's talk about writing style. So this book does have like snippets of sort of text conversations and things like that, and I did like that. Being in the first person narrative for me really didn't do it for me. I've read plenty of things where I do enjoy the first person narrator, however I just don't like when it's like a person telling their story and using language I just don't really feel like they would use. Like, it doesn't really make sense when she's describing the things that are happening to her, when she's describing her perspective on things. There's a couple of lines where there's some similes used and it just really didn't gel with me. I just didn't really feel like I was in her head, which if I'm in a first person narrator, I want to like really be in that person's head and totally get what's going on. Whereas like there's one thing where she tries on a dress and it doesn't fit, and then it's like the dress hung in the closet, you know, haunting me like a ghost. And that sort of line just felt very stylistically stunted. I think when it's something like that kind of image, I like for it to be a kind of more subtle metaphor. If she was to just say the dress hung in the closet haunting me, I get the ghost idea. It's a ghostly word to use the word haunting. I didn't need the like a ghost. There was just a few bits like that I just really didn't like. There's one really interesting thing that Catherine Prasifka does with the style, and that is that when the character Sophie is talking to people in real life, we never see her dialogue, we only see her thoughts and then what the other character is saying in response. So there's a moment where she's thinking like, he probably thinks I'm pathetic, and then you just see his reply, which is, of course I don't think that, why would you say that? And you don't actually know what she said. You can presume she asked, do you think I'm pathetic? And I would have been quite surprised by that, because I don't know why she would ask that. But I do think it's quite an interesting point of her style, and I found from that point of view, reading this book was very interesting, seeing that kind of style, and I did really like that, and I wondered why that would be, and I've actually just been checking out the author's Instagram, and this is what she had to say about why you don't see Sophie's dialogue. Always good to go straight to the source for these things, so thank you, Catherine, for clearing that up. Yeah, that was, I think, the thing that I really enjoyed from the style was that kind of sense of not knowing exactly what's going on in the conversations. Okay, let's talk about the cover, because I'm sure that's what you're seeing jumping off the screen at you right now. So we've got this lilac kind of purple cover front and back, and this sort of shattered mirror of some sort of character. I'm guessing this is the main character, and the lilac here represents the same color, I believe, that is the streak of lightning or whatever that it is that goes through the sky. The sort of crack that appears is this sort of lilac color. Across here and down here all the way around we have this sort of red papering, which I really like, and I feel like this is what drew me to the book initially, was just the cover. I think it's very eye-catching. It looks great on my bookshelf, especially this is just such a nice thing to see. The sort of spine of the book on the bookshelf I think looks really well. I just overall think the cover and everything was really well done. The one thing I will say is obviously the colours and everything can run. So you need to be kind of careful, and you can see like the bottom of this one has a bit of smudging, but I think that is just because I got the last one in the shop. There were a couple of things with the style that was holding me back from really enjoying it. The other thing is that the plot, I didn't feel like there was a lot going on, and sometimes that can work really well for me and sometimes it doesn't. And for me, I just felt like I didn't necessarily enjoy reading this book, and that's why I gave it 3 stars. I think I'd probably push that to 3.5 stars, and it's more down to literal enjoyment. I think the premise was great. I didn't like the characters really, especially I didn't like the main character, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad book. I just didn't like them. I didn't like elements of the style, but other parts of the style were really interesting, and I definitely would still recommend this book. I liked the way it handled sort of the modern age of communication, and I think it definitely put an interesting spin on what life has been like for the last couple of years. I don't know if it was necessarily meant to be a sort of pandemic vibes, but I think it was obviously to do with social media and reactions and global warming, but it definitely did give me pandemic feels. Lastly, I think just to give you a little taster of what the book is about, I'm going to read aloud a small section from the book. So this selection is from None of This Is Serious by Catherine Prasifka, and it's from the end of the first chapter. Look, Soph, a shooting star. Make a wish. She points through the window, up to the night sky. I look up and see a streak of light. I wish I wasn't alone. The thought comes to me unbidden. It's a secret between just me and the star. As if I've anchored it, the star refuses to leave me. It traces a long purple scar that disappears over the horizon. Someone yells, "Holy shit," from outside, and the deck is lit up by everyone's phones. We go outside and look up at the sky. Where before there was only light pollution, now there's a hairline fracture spanning as far as I can see in either direction. It's lit from within by a violet glow that seeps across this night sky. I keep blinking as though it will vanish as quickly as it arrived, but the light only grows stronger, outcompeting whatever stars have the audacity to still shine. My mind spirals through various explanations. Fireworks, coordinated LEDs on drones, an overzealous nightclub. But the eerie purple light feels too alien to be man-made. I'm struck by the fear that this thing will consume us. It's like the jaws of a great beast threatening to open and swallow the world whole. For as long as I can remember, I've been told that the earth is dying, that we had to reduce, reuse, recycle. But I never expected it to happen so suddenly. There's so much to take in all at once. I overbalance and fall backwards onto the deck, catching myself with the heels of my palms. I look at everyone around me, and in the purple light, they're all strangers. Someone pulls me to my feet. My phone looks cracked, but when I click in it, I realise it's just the reflection of the sky in the night screen. I can't tell if it's my imagination, or if the light is really pulsing. A phone goes off, and then another. No one is speaking. All I can hear is message tones and countless people typing. I feel seasick. The only thing keeping me centered is my phone in my hand, which is alive with notifications. Someone vomits into one of the bushes. My feed is full of photos, so many that they don't all load at once. One by one, my phone presents me with different areas of the world lit up by purple, blurred from how hastily the users took the photos. Most of them are too grainy to make out, but I find a GIF someone's posted of the star shooting across the sky. I watch it on repeat, each time feeling like something inside me is tearing apart. Politicians and celebrities are beginning to tweet about it. They're urging calm, but they don't know what's happening. A few of the posts look a little bit too prepared, and people are already speculating about why. I show the gift to Grace, and she looks at me with wide eyes. Neither of us can say anything. She goes upstairs to wake her parents, and the party evaporates like so much smoke on wind. That was an extract from the book, so I hope that was a little taster of what the kind of writing is like and what the general premise is. I think, sometimes, even though these reviews, I know, give a personal opinion, it's always good to go straight to the source, which is this book. So if that sounded good to you, I definitely recommend picking up a copy. That is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you got to this point in the video, you might consider subscribing down below, giving this video a little thumbs up. Give me a little comment, let me know if this review is helpful and what I might include in reviews in future going forward to give you more of a sense of a given book. And I'll see you all in the next video.